Welcome back to Dork Points, everybody. This is Ron, and tonight we will be talking about some more retro first-person shooters, as well as some, well, I don't want to call them boomer shooters, I don't like that name, but some newer retro-like shooters. But let's start off with the most retro of the retro. Look at this beautiful introduction. This is what makes classic games so great. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that pretty? And then this little intro scene here. This is so old school. This is Zero Tolerance. It's from 1994, so it's 2 years after Wolfenstein 3D and 2 years before Duke Nukem 3D. It was made for the Sega Genesis, which, God, I didn't even know there was any first-person shooters on the Sega Genesis, but this was, and you can tell by the by the 16-bit limitations, just the way the game looks. It's not the best look, but you get used to it as you play it. Kind of like Wolfenstein 3D. Yeah, the draw distance, or whatever you call it, is real short in this game, so you're always kind of going towards a black void if anything's more than a few feet away from you. I like the map menu, by the way. That's pretty cool. But yeah, as you see here, everything's like a black void in the background. But it's cool for what it is. It's too bad they made the screen this so small. I guess maybe that was on purpose because of the limited draw distance. I like the map, really helps with this game. And so far I haven't found any like secret areas, so I don't know if they even have in this game. I like the lady talking too. It's pretty good. It's pretty good for what its age. Alright, moving on to Doom 64. Now, I didn't realize this. I did in the last retro FPS video, I talked about Doom 3 and Doom 1 and 2. Well, Doom 3 isn't Doom 3, which is weird, because Doom 64 is actually the fourth Doom. There's Doom, Doom 2, Final Doom, and Doom 64. I have never played this one, though, and this was for the Nintendo 64, obviously, but I love the way it looks. It's a little more brushed up and faster and pretty, and I don't know if it's been optimized for the PlayStation 4, but it just looks like a perfect retro shooter game compared to like the first Doom, which I've tried playing recently, and it's tough. It's just older, kind of like Zero Tolerance. It's a little tough. But this is pretty. Alright, now Zombier. Oh god, Zombier. Okay, so this was like $4.99 or something like that, and I started, I saw the preview or the trailer or whatever you say for it, and it looked garbagey, and but I started playing it, and it is garbagey. It's garbage, but it's got a sense of humor. It's also very misogynistic and stupid and very infantile, but there's so many references to movies and stuff, and it has this BioShock kind of feel to it, where you're moving around the school, and everything is really interesting to look at. And then, yeah, look at all these little references here. There's a Minecraft-looking level. There's so much to like about it. But then the game, first of all, the game is extremely short. Also, your first weapon is a dildo, so I can't, play this in front of my daughter or anything. She's gonna ask me what that thing is. And then, yeah, more references. Look at all this stuff in the game, and there's so much more that I didn't show. Yeah, there's the flux capacitor. But anyways, it's such a mix of garbage and trash. Like, the game itself is only 2.5 hours long if you play it fast and you're not exploring every nook and cranny, but there's not that much to explore anyway. There's a few extra rooms. But yeah, it's kind of like they loved BioShock, and they wanted to do something like that. They wanted to make it, add a sense of humor to it and make it goofy. But it just doesn't quite work. And all the female body types you see here, they're just copy and pasted. Every woman looks the same, and every zombie kind of looks the same. The male zombies, I don't know. It's, and then there's only 3 weapons to choose from. There's a nail gun, you can upgrade the nail gun, there's a shotgun, and then there's the dildo. There's also a rifle, but you only use it for one section of the game, and that's it. But it's weird because it was almost worth playing, and it was just because it has that Bioshocky thing. But there's a major glitch here. As you can see, new game, and there's no continue game there. Yeah, so you get to this point in the game where you're going to use the sniper rifle, and you're basically like 20 minutes away from the end of the game. But if you leave this section, the game doesn't save. And the save that you had, like, you can leave earlier in the game. It's so weird. Like, you can leave and come back and it saves it. And then I even uploaded that save to the cloud, but every time you get to this point, I played it 3 freaking times. Every time you get to this point, the save just disappears. Like it never existed. And you can try to download it from the cloud and it just doesn't work. So I got to this point and, you know, and I didn't enjoy it. It's sad. There's so much potential here, but, you know, it was a small indie development team, and there's definitely some love behind it and some sense of humor, but all in all, it's a disaster in a way. If they could do something like this with a bigger team and maybe better writers, God, I would love it. I would buy it right away. All right, moving on.
Oops.
Alright, now our next game is Dead Effect 2, and this is from 2013. I forgot to mention Zombier is from 2014, by the way. You know, retro, but not that retro. PS3, PS2. This is definitely PS3 looking. Zombier looks like a PS2. I know it's not meant to be, but it does. So, this game, compared to Zombier, it's like the opposite. It's the polar opposite, where it does everything right, but it has no personality. It's totally generic, and like the character models and the story itself is. Look at her character model. This is older school. The puzzles are also Bioshocky referencey, like Zombier, but it looks good. It plays really well. It has no soul though, but I like it. It's almost more enjoyable than Zombie. Well, also, it's not broken. Like I said, because it's competent and because it works, it's much less irritating than a fun and interesting broken mess. But yeah, Dead Effect 2, check it out. It's generic but fun. Alright, now, Demonic Supremacy. Yeah, listen to that music. I started this baby up. I think this was like $2.99, but $2.99! But I started it up and I was like, oh my god. This is going to be great. I love the music, and it's just so cool looking until you play it and you realize it's just levels. Each mission is one level, and it's just this small little room. Each room is different, of course, but it's just a room, and you have to defeat all the hordes within the room. And the music makes it a little more enjoyable, but the weapons feel real sluggish and slow. They don't handle as fast and quickly as they should. I mean, you can get some upgrades, but they're only temporary upgrades. So you're not really working on your character. You just, you know, you can save up a little money and have an upgrade for that one level, but then it goes away. But yeah, it's just a shame in a game where you're just being swamped by enemies. The guns should be a little more enjoyable to shoot and have a little more ammo, and just the difficulty level is way too high. And this is only the 4th level, and I could not get past it. I must have played it 15 times. So there you go. Alright, Gastro Force now. I should say that Demonic Supremacy, that's a new game. That's from 2023. And so is this, Gastro Force. Now, I guess you could call this one a boomer shooter. I don't consider Demonic Supremacy really a boomer shooter. I just feel like they made a stylistic choice with a cheaper game, and it kind of ended up being very retro looking. But, well, I don't know. You decide. But this, to me, is more of a boomer shooter, but I don't know. It's Ratalaika, and they're just having fun. I just don't like the name boomer shooter, I guess, is my final point on that. But this is fun. It's just real old school, and unfortunately, it plays real old school. The turning around corners is real janky in some parts and almost breaks the game. Everything else about this game is pretty great. It's got the secret areas, it's got the bosses, it's got a bunch of different weapons. The ammo is sparse though, and it gets really difficult. Alright, moving on to Super Destronaut Land Wars. Now this is another one that's like only from 2020, but it's super retro. The original Super Destronaut was just a rip-off of Space Invaders. It was like top-down but kind of 3D looking, and it had this music and this whole vibe that you're seeing now. But then they did Land Wars, which is 3D, and I've always seen it on sale for like $1.99 and never picked it up, and then I finally did, and just like Demonic Supremacy, it's just rooms. Each level is a room with hordes in it, and you have to survive the hordes or get a certain amount of points, and I ended up platinuming the game. It's a pretty easy platinum, but it is fun, I have to say. For $1.99, you can't go wrong. Alright, Post Void. Here we go, boys and girls. This game is bizarre. I kept seeing some reviews of it, and all the reviews were good, but I was like, this game just looks like garbage to me. It just looks like panic-inducing. And it is, kind of, but it is also really easy to play and put down and pick back up. It's one of those games that you could just leave on your hard drive forever, and just, you know, once a night or whenever you're feeling like it, just go in for a quick run. It's really has that old school element to it where no matter how far you get, and sometimes you do get really far and then it gets really exciting and your adrenaline starts pumping, but it's just one of those games that you're not meant to sit there and play for hours at a time. You're just supposed to play it for a little bit and have fun, and for that reason, it's a pretty great game. But as you can see, it's weird as hell. It looks like it's going to give you epilepsy immediately if you play it, but I recommend it. And again, do you call that a boomer shooter? I'm not sure. Okay, and now here's some games that are I've already mentioned in other videos, but they are also retro-ish. And this one, Bones of Halloween, this is another Ratalaika masterpiece. Look at it. But again, was this meant to be retro, or are they just being cheap? That's the question. Is this a boomer shooter? Well, it's going to go boom in a second here, but yeah, it's like they know what they have for resources, and they're making these games with these limited resources or these lower-tier programming I don't want to say application, but you know what I'm trying to say, God. Same with Strafe here. Strafe, I've mentioned in another video, and great look to it. This one is definitely supposed to be a purposeful, like, throwback to Quake. It's a real boomer shooter, I'll admit it. But both these games and a lot of these newer games I've mentioned have this problem of difficulty, and this one is bar none the hardest of the hard. It's I guess roguelike is what you call it, where the level, every time you start playing it, the level completely changes. And there's a save point, but you can only use it once, and when you die, you go all the way back to the beginning. And then if you want to save at the next set of levels, you have to find all the pieces within the first 3 levels. Yeah, it's not... It's fun, but it's not fun. It's a real hardcore pain in the ass. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you found something in there maybe you haven't played yet. And I might be back with an all-boomer shooter series, but I found some retro treats in there, and so I thought I would show all of that. It's not all retro, but some of it's worth checking out for sure. All right, have a good night. Bye-bye.